Hey guys, how's it going? So, in this video, we're going to talk about how to disassemble a Sega Dreamcast. I've already done a video in the past about how to take apart one of these things, a Sega Dreamcast VMU. Well, after, the positive reception that you guys did in that video, I thought that basically, why not follow up that video with me taking apart a Sega Dreamcast? And that's what I'm going to be showing in today's video. Now you guys are probably wondering, why on earth would I ever need to take apart a Sega Dreamcast? Well, there are basically three reasons that I can come up with. The first one is cleaning. The Sega Dreamcast is almost 20 years old, so obviously there's a lot of dirt and debris that's probably inside of your Sega Dreamcast right now. So it's definitely worth it to take the console apart and just clean it so that your Dreamcast can last longer. The second reason is maintenance. So for example, like if you guys need a little bit of help of how to access specific parts like GD-ROM drives, controller ports, or to basically fix your power supply, well, this video will show you how to access those parts, but this video will not show you how to fix those, because I think if I were to do stuff like that, this particular video would take way too long if I were to include those kind of tutorials in this video. However, if you guys really want me to do those tutorials for you guys, I'd be more than glad to do that for you guys. So the third and last reason why you want to take apart a Sega Dreamcast is because you're an absolute nut like me that just simply wants to see what the insides of a Dreamcast looks like. Now, I'm totally kidding about that part, but in all seriousness though, I think it is amazing to see what the inside of a Dreamcast, or actually any console for that matter. The only reason why it's particularly special for me is because the Dreamcast, if you don't know, is my favorite console of all time. So, let's not waste any more time, and let's take this bad boy apart. Alright, so the things that you're going to need in order to take apart the Dreamcast is that you need a standard Phillips head screwdriver like this one I got right here. And then you're going to need a one size smaller Phillips head screwdriver. These are the only two screwdrivers that you're going to use when taking apart this console. And actually, for the most part, you're going to be using the Phillips head because you only really need to use this smaller Phillips head screwdriver for only one step. But it is still very important nonetheless, so that's why you need it. So, in order to basically open up the Dreamcast, all you need to do is to flip it onto its bottom side, like right here, like this. And then there you will actually need to take out 4 screws. They're located here, 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 and now you're probably wondering where is the 4th screw? Well, the 4th screw is actually hidden underneath the 56K modem. So just go ahead and pop it out like this. These things can be hard to take out if you've never taken out a 56K modem before, but just give it a little push and it should come out. And then here is the 4th screw. And of course, one more thing you need to have before you take apart the Dreamcast is that you need to have a rag like this so that you don't scratch this part of it while you're unscrewing the 4 screws. So yeah, just take apart these 4 screws and you're well on your way. Now, I'm going to say this, that the Dreamcast is one of my favorite consoles to take apart. And it's not due to Sega bias or anything like that, because the way Sega organized this console when it comes to taking it apart, it makes it really easy to access all the critical components of the console. And you're about to see this when I take the lid off. There are other consoles where basically they have some kind of ribbon attached to the top part of the plastic of the console. The Dreamcast has nothing like that. So all you need to do is just lift it up like this, and it's easy as that. And this is why I said that this thing is really nice to take apart and to access all the parts, because Sega basically made it so this is the GD-ROM drive, the power supply, the controller ports, and the fan. Basically, some people have problems with the power supply and the GD-ROM, and you can easily see that these parts are easily accessible, and that's what's so great about it. So yeah, in order to further take apart this console, we are going to start with the power supply first. But before we do that, we're actually going to activate this power switch right here by pressing up and down on it a lot of times. Like that. And the reason why you want to do that is that even though this thing is not the power supply is not connected to the power outlet, what can still happen is that there's still some charge that can still be on the capacitor, and if you accidentally touch it, well, you might get a really nasty electrical shock, and we don't want to do that. So that's why you do this step right here in order to discharge it. So then once you have done that, there's this, the switch has like this cable that connects to this socket on the power supply. So all you need to do is to touch this, just press on this white clip right here, and it should come out, revealing one of the 2 screws that you need to unscrew in order to remove the power supply from the console. So just go ahead and unscrew these 2 screws right here. Like so. Okay, good. Okay. And when you're taking apart all these kind of things, make sure to, you know, it makes common sense, but just to make sure you know, like you leave the screws with every single component so that everything's not such a jumbled mess at the end. But so yeah, that's basically it. Now the power supply is going to feel a little bit stuck, and there's a reason why. Because the power supply is connected to these prongs right here. And you know, and basically, yeah, that's basically the part that's gripping it, and you know, and that's why it's going to be a little bit hard to pull the power supply out. But there's also this little white tab thing right here too. So what you need to do first is that you need to pull on this little white tab thing right here, so that it pops out like this. And you can see that it's the white clip is off of the yellow plastic right now. And then what you're going to do next is that you're going to slowly wiggle the power supply up. Just very carefully like this. I hope you guys can see that, because actually right now I can't even see like where the camera, like I can't see the display of the camera screen, so I'm not even sure, you know, if like my hands and stuff are in the way, so I hope not, but we shall see. I'll probably give you guys like a more, like a better view if, okay, good, if my hands are like blocking the way and stuff like that. So yeah, once you got like the power supply out like that, just set it off to the side right here. And okay, so I actually got a comment on the last video of which is my Madcatz light gun Dreamblaster review, and if you haven't seen that video, I probably put a link to that in the description. Please feel free to check it out. But there was a guy who commented in that video, and his name is Jack Klompus13, and he has a problem with the resetting Dreamcast. The reason why probably the reason why Jack Klompus13, your Dreamcast is resetting, is because the pins that are connecting to your power supply are probably dirty. So all you need to do in order to try to fix that problem, I hope this helps you out. The way that you try to fix it is to get yourself an isopropyl rubbing alcohol, and then you're going to get some cotton Q-tips like this. And all you're just simply going to do is you're going to clean those pins with some rubbing alcohol, and that's that. So yeah, I'm just pouring out a little bit like this. Be careful not to spill it onto the the console. But yeah, just get a little bit. I hope you guys can see that. Yeah, you just get a little bit of rubbing alcohol onto one end of the Q-tip, and then you just simply wipe, like so. And then once you basically are done wiping it down with the wet side of the Q-tip, then you're going to take the other side, the dry side of your Q-tip, and wipe all that excess alcohol off. Yeah, just try this Jack Klompus13 and see if it works for you. And yeah, and hopefully your Dreamcast shall be working again. Because usually this is the main reason why your Dreamcast would be resetting. Okay. Okay. So, now that we got that done, what we're going to do now next is we're going to take out the GD-ROM drive. The GD-ROM drive is being held down by like 3 screws. There's one right here, and another one right there. So yeah, so just take your standard Phillips head screwdriver and unscrew those screws. Good. Now, after you get the 3 screws done, like so, when you pull the GD-ROM drive, be careful not to touch this switch right here. This is the part where the top lid, you know, presses against to basically turn on the mechanism. Don't put your fingers anywhere close to there. You might break it. When you're trying to pulling out the GD-ROM drive, it's going to feel a little bit firm at first. That's because, as I'll show you in a second, the bottom of the GD-ROM drive, careful right there, has like a little port that's connected to this socket right here, so that's why it's going to feel a little bit firm. But don't worry, you're not, don't worry about applying a little bit of force to pull it out, because you're not going to hurt it by doing that. Anyways, so the next thing I would like to take apart is the switch. Now you could have obviously taken apart the switch part of the console, like a little bit earlier, like basically after we put out the power supply, but it doesn't really matter too much. You could do it in any order that you like. So because, so in order to remove the power switch, all you need to do is just take out those 2 screws and you should be good. And then just take it out. It's easy as that. Now, what we're going to go on to next is the controller port. The controller port is being held by these 4 screws right here. Now, I mentioned that we're going to use this smaller Phillips head screwdriver for one part, and here's the reason why. If you look at the controller port, it is connected to the fan of the console. And as you can see, the fans of the console are the only screws that are not the standard size Phillips head. These use the smaller ones like this. And let's start by just removing those 2 screws first. So yeah, the fan is being held down by these 2 screws right here. So just go ahead and take them out with the smaller Phillips head screwdriver. Like that. There, turn it so you guys can see. You guys see that? Not sure if you guys can see that, but that's, I think I already showed it on the before, so okay, got it, good. So yeah, that's the fan part. I'm going to leave it like that because now we're going to move on to the 4 standard Phillips head screwdrivers. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry that the controller board is blocking the way. I would just try to do it like this, and hopefully you guys can see. Oh no, my hand's covering it now. Sorry guys. Man, I kind of wish I had like one of those like really nice camera stands so that basically the camera can be like over on top of me and pointing straight down, but oh well. I guess this will do. And here's the last one. Now, before you pull this thing apart, there's a ribbon cable that's attached on the controller port that's attached to the motherboard. Yeah, so you got to remove that first. But it's really easy to do that. All you need to do is just just grab it like this and just slowly wiggle that ribbon cable out, and you're all good. So now, yeah, once I've done that, basically, yeah, you gotta push a little bit on the controller port on this side in order to get it out. But once you've done that, the whole thing should come out real nicely like that. And one of the smaller screws fell out, but that's okay because I got it back for the fan. And now we are on the final part of taking apart the entire Sega Dreamcast, and that is to basically unscrew all the screws holding down the motherboard to the bottom part of the Dreamcast. And the steps to do that are really simple. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws that you need to unscrew, and yeah, and basically just get started on unscrewing those screws, because basically once you're done with this, you're done with taking apart your Dreamcast. Isn't that exciting? While taking apart these screws, I need to explain that for basically the bottom motherboard of the Dreamcast, just so that you guys don't get too confused, there are only really 2 types of screws for the motherboard. There are these golden ones, and then there are these black ones. The rule to remember where each one of these goes when you're basically going to put everything back together is that the 2 golden screws always go to these 2 screw points right here, and then the black ones just go to all the rest of the ones. So yeah, I had to point that out so you guys don't get confused when you're putting your Dreamcast back together. Alright, so yeah, so I got this last screw that is just being a little bit stubborn, and then all you need to do is just simply lift the motherboard out, like so, and, hold on a second, it tends to get a little bit stuck on because there's like the ports for like the AV and the serial port right here. tends to get caught in the plastic. You just simply push on those a little bit. Sorry, it's just a lot harder to do on the camera. And then it should come free like that. But I kind of like, this is not the last step because we're going to go a little bit further. Because actually, I am going to show you guys how to open the motherboard so you can have access to the Dreamcast. Now, I've already taken apart this motherboard before, so it's not going to be as hard. But basically, the motherboard of the Dreamcast is surrounded by 2 sheets of metal. And all you need to do is just simply lift them off like this. It's not going to be this easy when you guys, as I said before, it's not going to be easy when you guys do it because, you know, because when you guys do it, it's probably your first time taking apart the motherboard, so it's going to be really hard. And especially at this top part right here, because there are 2 thermal pads right there that are basically holding down this top metal right here. And it's going to be very strong if you do this for the first time, but since I've done it before, it should come apart like that. No problem. And what I got right here is the actual motherboard of the Sega Dreamcast. Yes, everything that's from all the beautiful worlds of Shenmue, from all the Skies of Arcadia, Sonic Adventure 2, everything that you see on the screen was processed by this board right here. And it's actually a lot smaller than you really expect. When I took apart this thing for the first time, I was actually shocked at how small this motherboard actually was. But yeah, so this is exactly what the motherboard of the Sega Dreamcast looks like. And yeah, I'm going to give you guys the view of the front right here. And then here's the view of it on the back, which is not too interesting, to be honest. Let's go back to here. But yeah, that's basically it. So now that I've done that, in order to put the motherboard back together, all you need to do is just to simply line up the motherboard with the bottom metal piece right here. Because the bottom metal piece, okay, has like these screw points. Actually, let me do that again, sorry, so you guys can see. Yeah, because you actually see on the metal piece, there are like these screws and all that. And you just simply line up the motherboard with those screw pieces. Like so. Like that. And then all you need to do is just to take your top part of the motherboard and line it up with the, okay, hold on a second. Yeah, so there are like these like distinct type of slots cut out onto here. And you just simply need to line them up with the port for the GD-ROM drive, the one for the controller port, and the power pins. So you just line up those 3 with that. And that's basically how you put the motherboard back together. Alright, so I'm going to lie to you guys again. Don't worry, this is the last time I'm going to lie, because we're still actually not done, because what I've decided to do for you guys is that I'm also going to show you guys how to disassemble the 56K modem as well. Now, I'm going to tell you guys straight away that this part is entirely optional. There is nothing that ever really goes wrong with the 56K modem. The only reason why you would want to look in there is that if you're just curious like me. But I would tell you that this is probably the hardest part of the Sega Dreamcast to take apart. So yeah, you guys have been warned. Now, it's going to look relatively simple at first because the only things you got is these 2 screws right here that you need to unscrew. But the next part after this, you guys are going to see why this is why I consider it to be the hardest part of taking apart a Sega Dreamcast. Okay? Alright, so the simple part is out of the way, because the thing you have to do next is that you got to get the metal housing off of this the plastic parts of the modem right here, and it's actually a lot harder than it seems. So, you know, obviously if you wiggle it like this, the metal parts is going to come out, but the phone line part of the modem tends to get very stuck on the plastic part, so it's a whole lot of fidgeting in order to get it work. Now, yes, I'm just gonna lift. Now there are basically 2 metal pieces. I'm going to show you guys that in a second. But there are essentially two metal pieces to the 56K modem. I feel like maybe the best way to get this thing out is to tug on this first metal piece right here. Now, obviously, you don't want to be too rough with this, because if you break you obviously don't want to break this port right here, because then your 56K modem will not work. So just be very gentle. It takes a lot of time. And Okay. Yeah, I might have to do a little bit of a jump cut right here. This part's incredibly tricky. It's just a matter of luck sometimes with this kind of thing. Come out. Oh, it's starting to come out a little bit. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, it's almost there. I wonder why is it. I think the metal piece is holding onto something. Yeah, because this whole plastic housing of the modem, there's like a lot of plastic pieces that like grip onto it and just won't let go for some reason. It just, because you can see the port. Ah, there we go. See, it's just a lot of trial error to get the modem out. But I'm going to show you guys that yes, there are 2 metal pieces to the modem. So I'm going to flip it to right here because this is usually the easiest one to take off. So if I take off this metal piece right here, here is one side to the modem. And then if you take off this metal piece right here, here is the other side of the 56K modem. And yeah, so so the thing is that it's also really hard to put this thing back together, albeit I don't think it's as hard as taking the modem out at first. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is that so before I put this thing back together, I need to show you guys that that the way that the metal pieces work is that so it doesn't make, so it's not too confusing when it comes to that part. You will see that on this metal piece right here, there are like these 3 little notches right here. And that's supposed to actually come into contact with these 3 pieces on the plastic part of the modem right here. Now, the tricky part is that, let's see if this is right. You basically have to get all the metal housing assembled like this. You can see that the 3 part, it kind of like bevels down a little bit. And it like wraps around the second metal piece. This has to be like this in order for the 56K modem to be correctly put back together. And you're going to see why I made all that fuss about talking about it, because, okay, so this metal, the way I put this, the 56K modem back together, is I tend to take this metal piece first and lay it inside of the, right here, like this. And then what I do is then I take the PCB board and put it into the this part next. It all fits nice and tightly right here, but the thing is that it can be a little bit tricky to insert this last metal piece back into here. And as I said, the reason why is because you can see those 3 prongs, and this metal piece has like the part that bevels in. It can be a little bit hard to fit the this part of the metal piece in there. So I'm going to try to do that. But it's just basically a lot of trial error with the modem. So you can see that the metal piece is basically grabbing at the top of the second metal piece. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but I hope it shows very clearly. So what I just generally try to do is I just try to push and then try to push down on this metal piece right here so that it slides nicely into place with the 3 prongs right here. I hope that explanation worked for you guys. If not, just try to carefully watch the video again and just try a lot of trial and error just to get this whole thing right. But yeah, now that the whole entire metal part of the modem is in nice contact with the plastic part, it's time to put the 2 screws back onto the modem right here, and then it should be all good from there on out. Alright, so that's basically it to basically taking apart a Sega Dreamcast. And yeah, and as you can see, we have an entire mess of all these components right here. But now that we've taken apart our Sega Dreamcast, we are going to put it back all together. But I decided that I think I should do this thing in a very unique way, because what we're going to do is that I'm going to teleport myself back to 1999 and become one of the workers that assembled one of these amazing dream machines back together. And I'm going to see how fast I can do it. So yeah. Alright, so I'm going to take this plastic part right here and let's go! Now, when you're screwing this, the fan right here, you want to make sure that it is screwed as tightly as possible, because if you don't do it correctly, it's going to make this a really annoying hum noise. So yeah, so make sure that when you're done screwing this thing down, it doesn't, like this top part, you can see it's wiggling. You don't want it to wiggle at all. Oh no, I messed up so bad. Because you're basically supposed to unscrew, screw this switch in before you put in the power supply. Oh wow, that's gonna kill my time. Okay, time out. One thing you want to test first before you put the Dreamcast lid back on is that you want to make sure, because as I said before, if your fan is not screwed down properly, it will make this weird buzzing noise. You can actually kind of tell it already before you put the lid on. Okay, so that's that. All you need to do to test if the to power the Dreamcast on is just to press down the power button right here. And if you barely hear anything from like the fan, you should be pretty good. And one thing is that I'm going to move this iPad slowly out of the way. Is you should put the lid of the Dreamcast back on, so you can kind of hear, because the buzzing noise is accentuated when you put the lid back on. Sounds pretty good to me. So I'm going to remove that, and we're going to continue with this competition right here. Alright, so here we are on the last screw. Okay. And then pop in the modem. And then 7 minutes. It took me 7 minutes to put this Dreamcast back together. So that means approximately I can make like a little bit less than 10 Dreamcasts per hour, which I personally think that's kind of bad. But with putting all these things back together, does it work? Well, we're about to find out. So let me get this iPad out of the way. Okay, we're going to plug the power into here, and we're going to plug in the VGA box. Yes. And let's see if it works. I hope you guys can see that. Oh yes, it still works. So yeah, that's great. So I properly disassembled the Dreamcast and I properly reassembled it back together, and it still works great. Let me get a controller just to to test to see if everything's working properly. Now, whenever you're plugging in a controller, turn the console off, because if you plug a controller or remove a controller when the console is on, you could pop a fuse on the controller board, which is not good. And I'm going to test it out with, why not, Sega Marine Fishing. It's the closest game I've got in my hand right now. And I'm just going to see if this works. That'd be pretty awesome if it did. Okay. Seems like the controller is working fine. The disk drive is working. And of course this thing. And there you go. Yes, this Dreamcast is fully functioning once again, which is pretty awesome. Now I know this video was not like into like like how to fix the GD-ROM drive, how to mess around with the controller board and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't really want to cover that in this video because I feel like it would take way too long. So yeah, I'll be sure to, if you guys really want me to make videos of that kind of stuff, I'll be sure to make some videos like that down the road. But yeah, as you can see, everything's running fine, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. And yeah, may the dream be with you guys.